What's going on, everybody? Good morning and welcome to the Investing Bros live show. We got a lot to talk about today. As the title suggests, Cardano is going to be one of the main focuses because finally, after months and months and months of being oversold, it's finally moving back to the upside. The question is, how far can it actually go, and what are the charts telling us? Also, speaking of Cardano, we got some interesting news coming from Charles Hoskinson, who's starting a new business. You're going to have to wait to the second half hour to find out more about that, so make sure you don't go anywhere. Ethereum is also bouncing off a very key level of support that we've talked about on the show, so we're going to go deeper into that. And the other thing I want to mention is that we have a brand new price prediction for Bitcoin down to 10K to 12K. Now, those prediction levels are not new, but Mike McGlone has some ideas and reasons as to why he thinks that that is potentially where Bitcoin could bottom before actually a very good resurgence in the crypto space. We're going to cover a lot more than just that. Those are just some of the big headlines. I'm going to let you guys hear more from T-Shroom here in just a second. But before we get there, make sure if you are here, go ahead and smash that like button. If you are brand new, welcome. We go live every single weekday, Monday to Friday, 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as promised, we've been putting out some more shorter videos in the afternoon. So make sure you are subscribed and you hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single piece of content. If you love crypto and you love investing and you love being entertained and having fun, this is the space for you. We are new, we're young, but we're one of the fastest growing channels out there. And I cannot wait to see how far we get in 2023, but we need your help. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I am joined by my amazing co-host, T-Shroom. T-Shroom, how are you doing this morning?
Tim, I'm doing better than a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest.
Whoa, come on. Aren't we all hoping to be that way, you know?
Yeah, it's a good morning. You know, I've had 2 mornings of waking up, feeling great, get a little bit of caffeine, a little bit of coffee in me, and ready to run and ready to rut. We've got some good stuff to talk about today.
We do.
Some of the headlines we're going to be talking about today are Bonk is getting bonked on the head as developers have to burn to try to keep the price from shooting down. Genesis and Wabe all announcing some pretty big layoffs. Avalanche maybe getting some bullish tailwinds here as they get a big partnership and have some availability to sell NFTs on Shopify. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then we'll dive a little bit deeper into the Silvergate story there as the stock was down 40% following write-offs and job cuts. And then also we got a fun little story. Charles Hoskinson has launched a totally new business.
Yeah.
All different from crypto, and we're going to be talking about exactly what that is. And also we're going to hit up the jobless claim numbers, which we might as well just go ahead and report those now because that's early news.
It's just a number. We'll talk more later about it.
It's important to know. So this is the non-farm payroll numbers, and to me it's bearish because it's good. Right now, unfortunately, bad news is good news and good news is bad news. And today we got good news for the economy, meaning the unemployment rate has gone down. Has gone down from the previous revision, and also it came in lower than forecasted. So it's good for the economy, good for you and me, good for Main Street America, but it's bad for Wall Street because Wall Street ultimately wants these numbers to be going up to strike fear in the heart of Jerome Powell and the monetary policy forming community so that they will think that they need to pause the rate hikes. Unfortunately, this data, also the non-farm payroll coming in higher than forecasted, it shows that more jobs were added in the last quarter. And so that means, again, another big green light to Jerome Powell that he can go ahead and resume hiking.
Yeah, didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No
what I was
worries.
going to say was really interesting is it's very funny to unpack that, and we're going to unpack it a little bit later on, hopefully. But in case we didn't, I wanted to say this. We're sitting in such an interesting time right now, T-Shirt, because traditionally, when you see the unemployment rate go down like that, that actually should be good news for even the market. It's the problem is that this is one of the first times, and we might discuss this in a future show because I was listening to a video that T-Shroom sent me the other day. Very interesting. We're sitting at a time right now in the market. We've never, or not, I'm not saying never. It has been a very long time since we have been both battling recession and inflation at the same time. So what's crazy is you're actually going to see the market be a little mixed today, and we're actually watching it go up on this news because traditionally seeing a low unemployment should be good for the economy. The problem is we know that seeing good unemployment levels, meaning low, is going to allow Jerome Powell and the Fed to keep raising interest rate.
Keep his foot on
and
the
then
gas.
That's going to then cause the power to go back to the dollar and away from the stock market. So very weird time. So traditionally, like when we're still here as a show here in like 10 years and we're talking about unemployment rates, if we're not battling with inflation because we found a better currency hopefully at that time, seeing low unemployment is actually good. So it's not bad to have an unemployment. It's just there is going to be a reaction. We're going to have to wait to see how Jerome Powell himself and the Fed, how they respond to these numbers. It's going to be very interesting.
Absolutely. Well, we got a little bit ahead of ourselves because we got to, of course, get into the quote of the day.
The quote of the day.
Which today is coming from J.K. Rowling. You know her. You love her. She's the author of Harry Potter. Look at her there, holding up that book loud and proud. She said, "We've all got both light and dark inside us. That what matters is the part we choose to act on. That's who we really are." Tim, are you going to act on the light or the dark in your heart?
You know, it's a good quote. I don't philosophically fully
I
go deep with that quote, though.
I'm going to find another.
The only reason why is obviously with my beliefs. I believe that every single human being is inherently sinful. I think we all have, we have good and bad because there's the part of God inside of us, and there's the part of us that has the sin nature. And my belief is it's really hard to do a lot of good. The Bible says it's hard to do good apart from God. So depending on what you believe on that, it's fine. I'm not trying to like necessarily get into a place here where saying like everybody is the absolute horrible person, but I am saying that we are all inherently a little evil and dark, and it takes something else to make us actually be able to accomplish any good in this world. That's probably a controversial statement that's going to make chat go crazy. So let's ask another question before we jump in and do some technical analysis. We will be doing a good amount of that today because it's got some great things going on in the charts. I do have another question. So we have these things, the quotes today, question of the day. We're going to be really brief here, T-Shroom. I don't want to hear what chat thinks, but I want to hear what you think first. This is another would you rather. Would you rather dance every time you hear music, no matter where you are, or whatever's happening, or would you rather have to sing the Gummy Bear song every time you see food?
Ooh, well,
dance every time you hear music, or sing the Gummy Bear song every time you see food.
I think today, because I pretty much work 100% remotely, dancing wherever I am all the time, even in church. Yeah, I feel like even if I was at church, I think people would be like, "He's dancing? Amen. Amen. Good for him." So I think I could probably play that off quite a bit better than every time I see food, which, a lot of times that's going to be at a restaurant, right? And so singing the Gummy Bear song. Can I sing it quietly?
No, you have to sing it.
I got to sing it loud and proud?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go.
The same thing with dancing. You can't do subtle dancing. You've got to go for it.
I'm going to go dancing, but you know what this brings to mind, Tim? I want to know what your response to that question would be.
Oh, it's easy. I'm not a dancer, but I would absolutely dance. Sing. First of all, I hate the Gummy Bear song. And food. I mean, people see food all the time. I think it's even socially way more appropriate to be dancing when there's music playing, than to be singing the Gummy Bear song, randomly because you saw food.
So it's a tough one, but ultimately, I think I'm going to stick with my guns. I'm going to stick with dance rather than sing.
Yeah, let's go ahead and check in with chat. Let's see who here. Let's see who is here. I saw
who here
very, very tragically. And man, it is really sucks. Crypto JMP was talking about he got scammed this morning. I'm trying to find the exact message where he said what happened.
Oh no.
Gosh, where was it? Woke up to multiple scam charges to my checking account. Goodness gracious. Keep us posted on what's happening with that Crypto JMP. That always sucks. Man, that is. I see a lot of people talking about that. We're not going to go a little deeper because we have some other things to talk about. Let's read some of the names, though, of other people in chat.
Let's do it.
We're with you, though, Crypto JMP, rooting for you. Curtis Rorick is our first guy. General Motors, guys, instead of good morning. I love
General Motors, baby.
That was the joke we made yesterday.
And,
and that's how you know he's consistent in chat. Yeah. That he keeps up with the jokes.
I drive a Chevy, actually. I do. It's a Chevy Malibu, baby.
Good job.
General Motors.
Good. Yeah. Crypto Mini Bike is here. Mr. J is in the building. Tyler Main. T-Shoom, of course. Who else is here? Dustin Singer is in chat. Gia S. Grand Roofing Incorporated. Our great moderator, Crypto Sec Guy, is here. Justin Eubanks. Trevor saying, happy Friday, all. I agree with that. Crypto JMP, we are with you, but it is good that it is a Friday. Servando Estrada. Brian Hoskins. Adam Delgado is here. Yazin Barakat. Love that name. Haven't seen that one before. Uptex Claymore. well, with the celebration. Justin Eubanks is here. CD Unicorn. Who else is here that I have not yelled? Crypto GMP, of course. Mitch Shaw. Henry C. Hernandez is also in chat. Brad Geidel is here.
Steve Schrum.
Steve Schrum. Ooh.
Steve Schrum.
Steve Schrum.
Love you, Dad.
And Steve B. Got a lot of Steves in chat. Let's see. Anyone else? Lucky Thoughts. Tristan Allen. Altcoin Heist. And I think that is about it. If I did not say your name, that does not mean I don't love you.
Did you
come back again on Monday and I'll
Did
get
you
it
see
right.
Servando? Was Servando in
I said it's Servando Estrada, didn't I?
I love saying that word.
Servando Estrada. Yeah, I mean, it's a great name. It just comes off the tongue.
I might name my kid Servando Estrada.
Servando Estrada Shrum. Yeah.
Just because I've got to see how it fits in
Makes a lot of sense.
like being angry. I don't know if you want to say Servando while you're angry. Servando? I don't know. We'll see.
Let us know, Servando Estrada, how that was growing up when your parents were angry with you. Let's go ahead and jump over to the charts. If you guys are excited about crypto, if you're excited about the show, go ahead and smash that like button. We got 66 people watching, almost 40 likes. We got 39 likes. Not terrible, but we definitely can get that number a little bit higher. Let's go ahead and start over here on the Bitcoin chart. I had the hourly chart pulled up just so I wanted to see how it responded. Of course, here when we got the news, we actually ended up closing the candle from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time green. Of course, we just started here 11 minutes ago with this newer candle. It is red at the moment, but not necessarily anything crazy. The other thing about that you're going to notice here, I'm not going to play too much into it because obviously this candle had a lot of things going on with news breaking, but that technically is bullish engulfing candle on the hourly chart for Bitcoin. So potentially, if I'm just looking at this technical analysis alone, this would indicate that the rest of this morning and potentially today, we should be moving to the upside on Bitcoin. But let's go out to the daily chart and look and see what is happening here. On the daily chart, we are in the red. We're coming back down, but of course, we talked about this yesterday. We did just bounce off of this this level of resistance once again. We discussed the fact that if we broke through, levels to be watching would be somewhere between this top level of resistance around 17,000 all the way up to about 17.6. If anything, also in this sideways trading channel, we don't have to come back down to the support line. It would make sense if we do it on 16.3. That is completely fine. But this would give us a breakout, just this little zone right here. You guys can see this zone broken out to the broken out of the resistance level would send us right back up to that $17,600 level, which of course is that really, really popular former support turned into resistance, 0.786 Fibonacci level zone. So a lot of things going on at that level. So if we end up breaking bullish, do not be surprised if we end up rejecting around that level. Maybe we jump up a little bit higher towards 17.8 and we get back up to where some of these candle bodies closed here the last time we rallied in mid-December. But as it stands right now, we're heading back down on Bitcoin, although you're going to see there's a couple different things happening to suggest that crypto could be going back up. Like I said before, even though some people are going to treat the news we just had with job reports as being negative, in reality, a lot of times I'm interested to see what happens at 9:30 because if we weren't talking about inflation so much, seeing that job report actually would be bullish for the stock market. So I'm interested to see what happens there. As far as the rest of everything happening, let's look at our oscillators. We rejected right at the 50 here a couple of days ago, so we're still hovering there. Let's go down to the 4-hourly chart and see what it is doing. This is what I kind of like. One of the things I'm looking at to say potentially we got some bullish price action coming back in. You're going to notice here on the 4-hourly chart, we have what we call hidden bullish RSI divergence. That is where the trend is still setting higher lows, but when we're looking at these lows, the RSI during that trend starts to drop, whereas the price action stays up. So I want to see this 4-hourly candle close green to solidify this. But as we stand right now, if we can keep this candle green and we reject, then we will have our hidden bullish RSI divergence, which is a continuation pattern, meaning we're going up to the upside. As we talked about yesterday, we do not quite have our bearish RSI divergence either on the 4-hourly chart. It's slightly bearish. I guess we could say that was bearish, like weak bearish RSI divergence. So that's why we're dipping a little bit more now. It's not really that strong. You guys will notice even like right here, if we were looking at these levels, this is another case of weak bullish RSI divergence, kind of flat tops right there where the RSI peaks dropped. Here, same thing, flat tops, peaks dropped, slight pullback, But what I'm looking for to have a strong reversal on Bitcoin would be full out bearish RSI divergence where the peaks keep getting higher on the price action, but the RSI peaks get lower. We will see that on a coin we talk about here in just a couple of minutes. So there is some bearish RSI divergence out there, but not for Bitcoin. Here is where I want to get, though, for just a second. There was a prediction made by Mike McGlone on Twitter, and he's saying that potentially here in 2023, we should be expecting to see a potentially 10 to 12,000. Let's read what he said here. And we pull these tweets up. Then you see the whole thing. Yeah, sweet. He wrote here, the rising potential for a severe global economic slowdown may be a top crypto performance factor in 2023. Our bias is that Bitcoin is more likely to come out ahead in most scenarios, but if an inverted yield curve is an indication, economic growth will ebb sharply. What he's talking about is over here. Of course, this yellow is the price action, but this is him being low. He's looking at this being inverted, and it's ready to pop back up. Traditionally, I guess if this is inverted and it starts rising, he's expecting the price action of Bitcoin to come back down. Of course, he's talking about around $10,000 to $12,000. Let's see what he says here. Before resuming an uptrending trajectory, a key difference from a year ago is the Federal Reserve and most central banks might be forced to start easing on the back of deflationary forces from declining asset prices. In the Fed pivot scenario, Bitcoin is poised to transition to a digital version of gold and perform like a metal and U.S. Treasury long bonds. A swift recovery in declining GDP asset prices appears less likely. So he kind of goes a little crazy here. You can go back to my face here, T-shirt, before we go back to the charts. He kind of goes a lot here. He is saying expect potentially 10 to 12,000. That level is not new. But he also indicates in that same tweet, a lot of people are going to read that and take it at surface value and say, oh, there we go, bearish for Bitcoin. But he's actually expecting there to be a nice little rally for the year 2023. And anything, he's saying that this could be the year we actually start to see Bitcoin compared to gold and other metals, which traditionally do well during recessions. The other thing I pulled from that, which is really interesting, because we just heard from Jerome Powell, who said that they are not expecting whatsoever to pivot. They're expecting to keep rates high in the year 2023. But he's saying when you're looking at economic factors worldwide, they might be forced to start an easing process, in which case that would be very bullish for Bitcoin and other risky assets. And when I say that, Bitcoin really shouldn't be treated that way. It's just how it's treated in the market right now. So it's really funny. A lot of people read that headline, and if they didn't dive deep into what he was talking about and try to extrapolate information, they would have just read that being super bearish and saying, there we go, Bitcoin's going down, going to be another bearish year. When in reality, what he's saying, it's going to be a very good year. However, because there are some stressful moments before things get better, they could get a little worse, as low as 10 to 12,000. Although even when I'm looking at that, I'm still in the camp of saying I think that a brand new low is coming. I've been saying that. I think the end of Q1, sometime right there in March, maybe stretching into early April, we're going to see a new low around 14,000, maybe 14,300. To me, I'm not saying it is impossible. I still am, what I'm looking at right now and paying attention to everything that's been happening in the news and knowing what's been happening in the news for the whole last year, I think 10 to 12 is still a little low. It's a level I used to have on my radar saying I think there's a good chance, but there's been so many bad things that have happened in the crypto space, and yet we have hung above 15,600. It is going to take a lot of negativity, and unfortunately, just because the economy keeps getting, just because recession keeps getting more severe every single month, that's not going to be enough itself to push it down. We've known for a while that was coming. I think we're going to have another little black swan event to go down that low. But let me know in chat what you guys think. Do you think 10 to 12K, possible isn't the question. It's absolutely possible. Do you think that 10 to 12K for Bitcoin is realistic, like Mike McGlone is saying here? That is what I have for Bitcoin. Let's move on to Ethereum and look at some stuff happening on Ethereum. Now, this is a very humble, and this is one of the reasons why I think that we could see the market rally here in a little bit from a technical standpoint. This is a very humble, I told you so. I called for this one. We broke through on Ethereum. We broke through over here just a couple of days ago on the 3rd. I told you guys, do not FOMO in. Wait for it, because traditionally, after you guys can see, we broke through an ascending triangle level of resistance right here, rising level of support, flat level of resistance. We broke through, and I said, wait for it. A lot of times when we break through, we end up pulling back and coming to retest support. And sure enough, that's exactly what we did this morning. Now, we're currently under a green candlestick on the 4-hour chart. It's not over. We absolutely could keep crashing down. Like, there's nothing saying we absolutely have to play this out. We could just go ahead and come back down and find support here, maybe even go a little lower. Those things are absolutely possible. But as it stands right now, this is a trade opportunity that if you took advantage of it, you could have a good spot. get your stop loss ready, but a buying order right here at 1237, and then with this prediction, still have my marker on. With this prediction tool, if we go and open up the opening of this rising triangle, we move it over to the breakout point. This gives us a price prediction around $1,300. It says $1,312. I would probably go ahead and take profit closer to about $1,300. But this is just an example where if you're learning technical analysis, you would have seen the same thing. It's very common to break through levels of resistance and then turn around and use them as support. And that's where traders actually end up making their position. Some of you might have entered down here. Some traders with a lot of risk might have entered a trade down here. But traditional, if you're trying to be safe and protect your investments and be a wise trader that gets the probability more often than not they're making good trades rather than bad trades, they're waiting for a breakthrough, a retouch of support, and then they trade it up to the breakout point. So it's really cool to see Ethereum kind of following that. And again, with all this, we also have volume coming in, so it's really good to see. Not necessarily a crazy amount, but you guys can see over the last little bit for the last couple of months, this is some of the most volume we have seen on Ethereum. Love seeing that. That's another thing. One critique I would make to the market right now when I'm out in the daily chart, no matter what I'm looking at, I want to see more volume come in before I have big breaks. It's one of the reasons why I think potentially Bitcoin might not be ready just yet. I think a lot of them, they're going to have problems rallying too far high. My question is potentially, though, can we do it on Cardano? Let's go ahead and move over to Cardano and spend a little time over here because that was the title of the video. Cardano is breaking out. How far can it actually go? Now, when we say Cardano is breaking out, let's look at this a little closer. I know we've talked about this in several videos. I actually made a video on this the other day responding to a prediction that a lot of the Cardano community believes that we could see a 49-cent Cardano by the end of January 31st. And I highlighted in that video, you guys can go back and watch it after this live stream if you haven't seen it already. I highlighted that it's absolutely possible. I don't know necessarily if it's likely, but one of the things we'd have to see is volume come into the space. And the reason why I think volume could come in on Cardano rather than potentially Bitcoin or Ethereum is because of how overextended to the downside or oversold Cardano has been. Throughout this process, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, we've seen several bullish RSI divergences that don't necessarily play out that strong. We saw one back here that resulted in July. We ended up rallying just a little bit before we fell again. We saw another one develop here more recently, just over the last couple of weeks. So the question is this finally going to be the one that takes us off? It kind of goes deeper. There's not just one right here. We also have another one developing right in here that started this rally when we bottomed out right there around 24 cents. The question is, can we go ahead and keep breaking through? We've broken through this falling wedge level of resistance, this red line right here, which would give us a prediction of about 38 cents here on the linear chart. What you do by that is you take the opening of the falling wedge that started back here, and you move this over to our breakout point, and this gives us a prediction here of 37.12 rallying up, depending on how you drew it. I think the other day I drew it, it said 38 cents. 37 cents is a nice little spot, though, potentially to take some profit. The other thing we did, though, is we didn't just break that red line, we also broke this green line, which was a level of support for a longer time frame falling wedge. So what do we do with this information? We got to continue to wait. If this ends up breaking out, if this falling wedge breaks out and gets our prediction, that would actually send us higher than 49 cents, actually up towards, I believe the other day we were testing this, it says 56. But I'm not necessarily ready to talk on that one just yet. I think for right now, let's focus on 37 and let's see if volume comes in. But it could be one of the projects absolutely that ends up going because it's been so oversold for so long, and we talked about this before. Cardano does this. It suppresses itself for a while. It doesn't move when everyone else thinks it should, and then out of nowhere, without a notice, it just goes ahead and takes off. It's done that historically. Let's look at some other things happening, though. We're sitting on the daily chart right at the 50 RSI, so this is interesting. I think there's a chance, and we're going to look at the 4-hourly chart, I think there's a chance that Cardano could cool off over the next couple of hours, maybe days. That does not mean this little short rally is over. It just means it's time to take some breath. You're going to see we had that green cloud come in on our Luxoggle oscillator, meaning it was time to buy. Now we're heading at the 50. Is the 50 going to act as resistance, or is it going to potentially be able to break through? One of the reasons why I think potentially it will is when you come down here to the 4-hourly chart. I told you guys earlier when we were doing Bitcoin TA, there is some bearish RSI divergence forming, and sure enough, right there, you guys can see it. Let me zoom in just a little closer, though, so it's more evident here. So RSI peaks that we had back here, the price action has continued to climb. The RSI has been to fall. We also on our Luxago oscillator, we're getting this red cloud coming in, meaning on this shorter time frame, we're a little overbought at the moment. It just means it's time to pull back a little. The question is, where do we pull back to? Do we only pull back down to this support level? And it's not really a strong support level, but do we only pull back down to around 26.37? Absolutely possible. I think worst case scenario, we're pulling back around to this green line around 25.5 cents. Keep your eyes on what's happening there. It's going to be really interesting because Ethereum looks like it might be ready to take off a little bit. So could Cardano follow that volume right now? It does look like Cardano's getting a little more attention and making bigger moves than Ethereum Bitcoin. Does Ethereum's momentum being able to move to the upside potentially also funnel money over into Cardano? A lot of investors kind of almost invest that way. It's like, oh, it looks like the market's in a good spot to buy. Let me go and put, $10 in this and $10 in this, or maybe people are throwing $10,000. I don't know what people's wealth level is, but $10,000 here, $10,000 here, $10,000 here. Cardano is an opportunity we've talked about the news. Whales have been purchasing it for the last 6 weeks because they're seeing how drastically it's overextended to the downside. So the last thing I'm waiting for on Cardano to confirm that it's ready to take off at least up back to 37 cents, if not to that 49 cents that the Cardano community thinks, would be volume coming in. And I think it's absolutely possible that happens. When we're looking at this, Ethereum is nowhere near as overextended to the downside as Cardano is. Even Bitcoin is not necessarily. Cardano just experienced a new 2-year low here just a couple of days ago, right at the end of December. So very, very, very attractive looking project. And I know a lot of you guys out there maybe get tired of Cardano. Maybe you're not the biggest Cardano fan. That's okay. You're just having to bear with us through this whole process. But if you are a big Cardano fan, you guys are loving what's happening. You're loving what you're seeing. Some of you might even be rooting for one more good dip because you're not done acquiring more Cardano. But don't worry. I do think, like I said, end of Q1, I think we're going to see the entire market take a little bit of a dip, Cardano included. The question is, can we rally maybe as high as 49 cents or 56 cents before that happens? Let's look. There's a couple other things I think I wanted to talk about here. Oh, that's right. Okay, so I was someone reached out to me on Twitter, they looked at my chart and they said, well, Tim, I don't have the lines drawn the exact same way. Are we potentially just retesting level, this green line right here, they had it drawn differently. Are we potentially just retesting a level of support that we turned into resistance? So I was looking at this and I looked at their chart and I was like, okay, what they're actually looking at is they're looking at the log chart. You guys, I've been talking about this a couple of weeks. I've been looking at the linear chart, and the reason why is because when I'm looking at other traders and other people that post a lot and have been trading a lot, they're almost always looking at linear charts. And technical analysis is the art of studying the psychology of the market. When a bunch of technical indicators and technical traders are looking at one chart, if you're looking at a completely different chart or you're looking at a different way, you're not going to think the way they think. I want to think the way other traders think, but I also want to give credit. There are levels and things that happen on log chart as well. So let's go ahead and I'm going to move over to the Binance chart so I don't mess up these lines. I have these other lines drawn differently. You're going to see at the moment the way I have it, this makes absolutely no sense. Those lines don't make sense whatsoever. This red line up top isn't really touching anything except for that point right there. This red line is cutting through the middle of candles. It's because it's drawn for the log chart. So hitting this button right here, we're going to fix it. And there we go. What he is talking about, and he kind of drew for us over here, was going back to candle body close of this big dip back in May. We've had several wicks come down and use this as support. And if you're looking at it, yes, we had the wick breakthrough this morning. That's why I think it's really important to watch and see what happens the rest of today. But technically speaking, we're right at that level that this could be rejected. So this is a point on Cardano to watch. There are signs that we could continue to the upside. There are signs that say maybe it's time to cool off just a little bit. Do we reject at this line? And eventually, when can we break through this so that we don't just have the breakthrough on the linear chart, we also have that breakthrough on the log chart. So I don't remember the guy's name, but shout out to you. I love when people send charts back to me and ask questions or make statements. Hey, Tim, did you see this? It would literally be impossible to look at every single chart of every single coin from every different angle and use every single indicator. I do the best I can to cover as much as I can, but I love when you guys see things as well. Send them to me, ask me questions, or say, Tim, did you see this? Did you miss this? Because that helps me be better, not only as a a technical analyst, but I'm investing in these projects. Like when you guys see me do TA, I do TA because I feel like I want to help you guys, but I also want to help myself and learn and look at what the market is saying is a good buy and a good sell. So good call by that guy. I wanted to show that to you, but it is 9:28. We're about to transition to the stock market. Let me know what you guys think. We just talked about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. If you're just joining us, go back and watch that when the stream is over because there were some really good notes on that one. But let me know what you guys think. Are you bullish on Cardano? Do you think we do make it up to maybe 37 cents, 38 cents? Do you think we go higher towards that 49 or 56? Or do you think the whole thing is absolute crap and we're heading down low today and we're going to set new lows here and then Cardano's dead and it's never going anywhere forever? I don't know how many of you guys are in that boat, but I'm sure someone is. T-Shroom.
Yes.
I just talked for a very long time. I need to take a drink of water. What are your thoughts about the market?
Well, let's get into it because the market is opening here and I really want to make sure that we can check it out here. Let me get all the cameras and everything set up and let's dive in. So first thing that I'm wanting to look at is always the indexes. What are the indexes doing? And right now they are down pretty sharply, not as sharply as they could be, but the NASDAQ leading the way downward. So you're seeing a rotation out of risk and into cash, really. I mean, with this amount of sell-off, this is just going into cash. But the Dow Jones is trailing, meaning experiencing the least amount of pain here. But that's and as we speak, the S&P and the Dow just got bought. So something changed because they just went from negative.
It literally just opened 10 seconds ago.
Yeah, they just went. Oh, okay. Well, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Tim, you threw it over to me before the market even opened.
I know.
I could have looked at the clock.
I gave you.
In your
you
defense.
did it like 30 seconds before. And then boom.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's restart, guys. Markets are opening green, up modestly. The Dow leading the way higher and the NASDAQ trailing. Dow up 0.8, but this is in the early seconds of trading here, guys. So this is mostly going to be illusory data at this point. Let's actually go ahead and circle back on that. The energy markets more than likely are pricing in what they are actually going to do today. Let's start with UNG and take a look at that. So UNG coming in, let's get off the weekly chart here, take a look at the daily at least. And what we quickly discover is that UNG is looking to push lower. So LNG looking to push lower. And I'm thinking it's probably not going to stop going lower until we hit 1050. So it may have a little bit of a pullback, a little bit of a bear market rally, if you will, like it did back here on Wednesday of this week, where it came and pushed up 5.2%. But then proceeded to come back and crash 9.4% the next day. And this is not one of the leveraged ETFs. This is just the ETF that tracks the spot price of natural gas. Well, you're not here only for natural gas. Let's also look at the other energies. This is gas, otherwise known as crude oil. Spot price making a little bit of a comeback. So making a higher low here, putting in a higher low here. And that's definitely bullish, but you want to see this get bought up above that 56.30 price line, that is now resistance, was support for a little bit, but honestly didn't really act as such, pushing back down through that. Let's go down to the 4 hour for oil and check out the did I close the MACD? Looks like the MACD has just completely disappeared there. Well, that's no good. The RSI is showing that on the 4 hour at least, crude oil is still pretty bearish, staying below that 50 line, and Lux Algo on the 4 hour again oscillator is showing that there's some opportunity here in oil.
I'm looking at those oscillators. I think that's potentially bullish, especially as you start heading back towards that 50 with the RSI, and then again that Lux Algo with that green cloud. You don't trade on one indicator whatsoever. You want to find a confluence, but it is saying when it's putting in all the numbers in its algorithm, it's saying it's oversold at the moment and it's time to buy.
Yeah. No, definitely. So getting a little bit of input there from Tim, always helpful. Let's see what the MACD is saying. That's what I wanted to pull up on crude. And yes, you see a big bull cross. Exactly correct, Tim, on the 4 hour at least. So we may see quite a bit of rally in crude oil today, already up 1.25% in the early minutes of trading. Well, let's go back to the indexes here. As you can see, not super change from that first minute, literally first seconds of trading that we got to observe there. That was the first true market open that we've really been able to bring you guys, as usually we go over and we're about 3 or 4 minutes into the morning session, but Dow still leading the way. So S&P, NASDAQ still trailing, but everything looking green there. And obviously what is important to remember here is the markets are reacting to the jobs data, which came out good, which is, as we talked about in the early part of the show, bad. Now, why is that? Well, because good jobs data gives Jerome Powell at the Fed a bigger green light to say we can keep hiking in 2023, which, obviously economists are going to say, and Tim and I would agree, you do need to probably continue hiking to some extent. But overall, we were expecting the markets to react bearishly to this, and maybe they still will. Very obviously, plenty of time still left on the clock for today's trading. Just because it's getting bought in the morning doesn't mean that more sophisticated traders aren't buying it up to then just sell in profit later on. Well, look here down at crypto, very mixed picture. You're seeing Bitcoin down 0.3%, so pretty much unchanged, you could say, for crypto's expected volatility. You could say kind of unchanged for my watch list of crypto this morning. Matic leading the way lower, 1%. Still not very volatile. Let's take a look at the Matic chart really quick. Did you cover Matic earlier?
No, we
today?
didn't. Yeah, you feel free.
Yeah, so on the 4-hour, I'm noticing quickly that it's still well below its 200-day moving average, as most of them are, except what? Litecoin? Litecoin was the only one that was above it?
Litecoin is above. Yeah, it's above everything at the moment.
Yeah, but probably not on probably on the daily.
On the daily chart,
was what you were looking at.
Yep.
So on the daily chart, Matic's still below that 200-day moving average.
Yeah, it just got rejected at the 20 once again.
Yeah, MACD showing that some signs of bullishness. Although this latest green histogram is plateauing, you'd want to see that ascending as it did here. See up, higher, and then you get a high. So that is congruent to that local high there. Overall, though, Matic leading the way lower. Let's go down to our metals. You're seeing a resurgence today into metals. Yesterday, they were down. By metals, I mean precious metals and steel. So you can see here we got silver, we've got gold. Let's go and plug into silver. I think yesterday we looked into gold. Silver getting bought today. It was a buy the dip. So I was thinking, you'd probably see it come down and at least test this line of support here at 22.36. Created by this wick put in back in November 15th. But ultimately, it got bought, which means that there's a lot of hungry buyers out there for silver, for the precious metals. And it's not a surprise, as that recession narrative is still very much entrenched in the Wall Street zeitgeist. So seeing something similar here on the gold charts as well, as it's getting bought towards the bottom of this range that it's been in, and this is the daily chart, so a pretty good summation, although I would not characterize this upon a second look as the bottom of the range. It's more of the midline, so I would be careful there. I'd probably be a bigger buyer of actually, now that I look at it, I would say I'm a bigger buyer of silver here, but I'm still probably a bigger buyer of gold. And why is that? Just because of its proximity to that 200-day moving average. Although we are moving towards a recession and you would want to rotate into gold and silver in general, you still do have a lot of bulls out there saying that there's plenty of potential and plenty of opportunities in the stock market. Once those voices go away and there's true blood in the streets, that's when these metal names are going to start to skyrocket. And just right now, though, guys, I'm just not seeing it. I'm just not seeing the blood in the streets headlines that you'd need to see. Yeah, and what's that?
Not yet, not necessarily.
Yeah, but isn't that pretty true though, Tim? Is like, wouldn't you expect a rotation into gold and silver around now? Are those smart investors getting in now, or do you want to really wait for some giant upside potential, some strong momentum in those names before you start getting in them?
I think a little more. I mean, when I was looking at gold the other day, when recessions start, there's a little dip, just like everything. Because what happens when everyone comes to the realization that we're in a recession, because that's a pretty hotly debated topic right there. Are we in a recession right now, or are we not? I'm going to let everyone decide for themselves what they think there. But when it's been confirmed we're in a recession, like let's go back to the 2000s, let's go back to 2008, let's go back to those times, gold starts out going to the downside because it's mayhem. People are freaking out. Am I going to have a job here in a couple of weeks? What's going to happen? We have all this craziness happening. And then when it becomes clear and people just kind of lock themselves in, it's like, all right, this is recession time. Gold starts to go up because it's a great hedge against the dollar.
Yeah.
And that's why, again, with Bitcoin, it's one of the things that people are believing, even Mike McGlone was kind of talking about that in his prediction, is this the year that finally people treat Bitcoin like digital gold, the way it's been called for since its existence, and potentially does Bitcoin get a little bit of a dip as recession starts to get really set in, and whether you were in denial yet or not, and you finally realize it, is there going to be a little dip? And then people realizing, oh my gosh, the dollar sucks. Yeah. Our economy sucks. Let me put my money into something that actually is going to help me out here long term.
Well, let's keep looking here at the charts. Guys, it is getting dark for Tesla traders at this point. On the daily, we are getting close to the second, the darker cloud here of the Lux Algo's reversal cloud here. And man, it is tough. It's almost down into the second take profit for Tesla. Just my heart goes out for you guys over there holding Tesla. I genuinely, I'm not saying that sarcastically. It really is going to be tough. But once you get the all clear from Elon Musk saying they found a CEO over at Twitter, you will see a bounce. The other thing I'll point out is that Tesla is approaching that 100 price, which is going to be big psychologically. I think once it taps that, if it hasn't already, let's actually drill into the 4 hour. I know we're spending a lot of time here. It has not. It definitely has not gone into that 100. It may have wicked down. But let's assume it hasn't gone to that 100. I think that's going to be a big bottom for Tesla for a while. It may go lower because of something we don't know yet.
You start right there. Look at that massive gap right there. I mean, it's right above it, but I think you're going to have
5% gap.
A bounce back up for Tesla just to fill that gap here very soon.
Yeah. Let's keep moving, guys. Here, bonds getting sold, or at least the yields are coming down. Actually, that's the opposite. Bonds are not getting sold. The yields are coming down. So keep that in mind. Dixie continuing to make a. This isn't the daily chart. I was like, what is it? Raging? It kind of is, guys. That's a green candlestick today. It's sold a lot of that candlestick. And what is that? This is a spinning top, I believe, which can be the sign of a reversal. Usually a bearish reversal. So keep that in mind, guys. But Lux Algo Trend Tracer is calling that green. Not putting a buy signal on that quite yet. Obviously, you can't buy the Dixie. You probably already have it in your bank account. It's called the dollar. Let's move on. Cannabis down. Mid-cap down. Rotation out of higher risk. Although you do see Jenny getting bought. That's an individual stock, though. Can't judge that book by its cover. Can't say that that's super good summary of the overall story this morning on mid caps. And you are getting that confirmed yet again, moving out of risk into oil producers. Let's take a look at Oxy. Has kind of been the one on my radar to buy. And big gap up today. This is the daily chart. Again, keep in mind, I was thinking that Occidental is probably the oil producer that I would want to buy, because it's owned by Berkshire Hathaway, not completely, but a large portion of it. And then also it's kind of been trading at the bottom of this range. Lux has not given it the buy rating yet on the daily chart. So I am kind of waiting for that, TBH. But once we get that, I might take a position in Oxy as, again, another inflation hedge. Another way to, not inflation hedge, a recession hedge. Just another way to kind of protect my capital as we trudge deeper into this recession. Well, Tim, are you ready to go ahead and get into these stories? Because we've got quite a few.
Yeah, let's do it in a second. I did want to make a special shout out because I saw there's a lot of people here in chat from the crypto inmates. Crypto inmates, right? Or Cardano inmates. Is it Cardano inmates or crypto inmates? Either way, this is an NFT project. I want to start off by being very open with you guys, in case anyone was sitting here wondering. We are not sponsored by inmates. By no means are they paying us any money. It's really cool, though, because I do know a lot of people that are already really engaged with us. We're engaged with that community, one of them being Crypto Sec Guy. He's been talking to me a lot about getting in there. So as in my journey, I told you guys, I have traditionally been very much against NFTs, especially a lot of the artsy ones that didn't really accomplish anything. But it seems like I want to learn more about inmates because it seems like they're building a great community over there. I might use that as one of the building blocks to actually grow my understanding of use case NFTs, community-based NFTs. So shout out to everyone who is joining us from inmates. So glad you guys are here, and I look forward to it. I'm jumping in their Discord. I'm gonna learn a little bit here, T-Shirt. What about you?
Yeah. No, I'm eager to learn about NFTs. And you know what I've been thinking about is this might be around the time that you want to start really getting into NFTs, just for the flip feature of it. Just straight up, guys, talking pure, alpha capitalist right now. Like it's just not a bad time to be looking into markets where people are where assets are keeping value. Like I heard that the crypto punks are still like some of them are still worth like $40,000-$60,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, because you guys in the chat know way more about that. That's, I believe, on the Ethereum side, so that's not CNFTs, which is kind of what we're talking about here with the inmates. But I'm this of all of my career in crypto, I think this is probably the time that I've been most likely to buy those retail NFTs, like get involved in those names. Again, for me, still right now in the market, it's just pretty much purely to flip. I don't have a lot of motivation to buy NFTs just for myself. But these crypto inmates,
I think it's ADA inmates. I was wrong on both. It's not crypto or Cardano. It's ADA.
Yeah, this ADA inmates might be my entry level to just kind of dip my toes in, see a project that I know, like, and trust some people who are involved with it, meaning Crypto Set Guy. Yeah. And so, it's something to definitely to look into.
I think he's got a lot of people. I think Alex Green, one of our people in the community. I think he's got Elliot Locke in there. More than likely, if he hasn't already, I can't believe it's too long before Matt C jumps in there as well. So if nothing else, again, not a sponsorship, but if those are the type of people that love the community, and that's all I hear, they rave about the community in the Discord over there. If it's nothing else, it sounds like a great community to go and jump into the Discord and learn a lot.
Something really quick though, I didn't think I would. I was just scrolling and I found this article earlier today, but now that the inmates have come up as a topic, this is a huge headline today, guys, especially for any of our Mexican viewers. Violence hits Mexico cartel's stronghold as Chapo son has been nabbed. Yeah, well, I didn't think I was going to cover this, like I said.
What a segue,
but this is huge. The Sinaloa state capital, a stronghold of the cartel by the same name, the Sinaloa cartel, was filled with roadblocks and gunfire after Mexico's military captured Ovidio Guzman, who is El Chapo's son. So inmates, that's a key word here that is also, going on over there in Mexico right now.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into some of those headlines because we do have a lot, and we have about 15 minutes left.
We're going to power through them here. So let's get into them. So really quickly, developers burn 5 trillion Bonk as Solana-based meme token slides. Maybe Tim will do a TA video on Bonk at some point.
Probably
I have never even looked at a Bonk chart.
I would be very surprised if it's even on like TradingView.
Yeah. I think it's probably on TradingView, but I would be surprised to see you do a TA, but I would love to see it. All right. Anyway, so that's not a surprise. Moving along. Genesis cuts staff by 30% as financial woes from FTX fallout persist. And this is a theme pretty much for the rest of our show, the rest of our conversation today. Crypto exchange Wabi to lay off 20% of staff report, noticing a theme here. And then this is an exception to the rule. We'll come back to that in just a second because U.S. bank Silvergate hit with $8 billion in crypto withdrawals and also a bunch of layoffs as well. Customers of U.S. bank Silvergate, which provides cryptocurrency services, has withdrawn over $8 billion of their cryptocurrency-linked deposits. This has taken place over the last 3 months of 2022, but around 2/3 of the bank's customers pulled out their deposits, as I said, in the last 3 months of 2022. The bank has sold $5.2 billion in assets to cover the cost and remaining and to remain liquid. And also Silvergate is a bank, and in case you didn't know, Silvergate is a bank listed in the New York Stock Exchange and is therefore regulated within the financial sector. It is one of a small handful of businesses within the sector that provides cryptocurrency services, lending services. So that's something to take a look at there. Silvergate, one of the last remaining lenders in the crypto space, struggling to keep up. JP Morgan has downgraded Silvergate Capital, which in the equities world, downgrades bad. That tends to scare investors away. And this is an optimistic story here. Shopify merchants can now sell Avalanche NFTs through their online stores. We're going to rip through this one quickly, but it is actually interesting and definitely bullish for AVAX. Vinly, a blockchain tech startup, announced the expansion of Avalanche support today through its Spotify NFT minting app. The Layer 1 blockchain platform, Avalanche, which is built as a faster and cheaper alternative to top NFT platform Ethereum, was previously only accessible to select Shopify users, but is now offered to any merchant on the platform. So you can now, and you can buy it with your credit card. I read further through that article and found that out. Moving along, though, this was our fun little ditty here. Charles Hoskinson says ADA is accepted at his new big venture. And here's what it is. There he is, the man himself, the mathematician. Founder of Cardano, billionaire and mathematician Charles Hoskinson has taken to Twitter to announce that customers of his recently launched clinic can now pay for his services in ADA token. Earlier, You Today reported that ADA is also accepted at restaurants launched by the same mathematician, Charles Hoskinson. Here is a look at the entrance to what his health and wellness clinic looks like. He said next month it's going to be open for business. He said that yesterday. So some interesting moves over there from Charles Hoskinson. Aside from helping its patients to work on various aspects of their health and lifestyle, the clinic is also focused on anti-aging and regenerative treatments. And it's in Wyoming. So pretty cool stuff over there from Charles Hoskinson. But let's get into what's moving the markets, and that would be the non-farm payroll, which rose 223,000 in December as strong job market tops expectations. And again, we've covered this one pretty well at this point, but understand that what is good for the job market right now is bad for Wall Street in the short term. Of course, we say this, but in the long term, it is actually good because it shows that the Fed can do what they need to do. It doesn't have its back up against the wall like in the 70s.
TJ, I think it's different. I might disagree with you. I think, especially when we're looking at the stock market, and what is open, I think it's going to be very short term good, intermediate bad, and then long term good, obviously. But I think the reason why intermediate bad, the short term good, we're seeing it green already, so that's kind of answering itself. But it will be bad when we hear the Fed say what they want to say, and the expectation is that they're going to come out and say, see, the job market's still strong, we got to keep putting pressure. There's an outside chance that he could say the market, those numbers were not what they actually insinuated. For example, it talked about December. Well, guess what just happened November, December? A bunch of people got hired for holiday jobs. That are now, as we speak, some of those people probably are already looking for other work because they know those jobs are ending already or about to end. Yeah. So there's diluted details to that number that it's going to be interesting to see if Jerome Powell reads through, if the Fed reads through, and what their response is to it. But short term, it's proving to be good for the markets. Yeah.
Well, we've talked about the unemployment and numbers quite a bit this morning. I think it's probably a decent time to move on. But before we do, a big factor of those numbers is the wage growth as well. And those grew only 0.3%. Now that's, it's bad. Again, bad for laborers, but good for the market. Why? Well, because earnings season is expected to be what could be the trigger for the recession and a big sell-off in equities. But if they can continue to get labor cheaply, meaning big corporations that are traded on the New York Stock Exchange, if they can continue to get labor cheaply, then that will be all the less likely that earnings season will be bearish for the market and bearish for crypto in consequence as Bitcoin continues to be pretty correlative to the NASDAQ. So that's that. That's a pretty comprehensive summary of everything that we were to cover. And maybe we went through that faster than we should have.
Listen, I'm all about going through things faster. Here's the thing. You guys don't get to see behind the scenes. Some of you might be able to in the future. T-Shum and I have ongoing. We talk about this almost daily. We're like, okay, yesterday we filled the show with way too much news. We only have an hour here. We went overtime. We need to regroup, and then we plan the stream. We have less news, and we're like, oh no, like are we gonna make it all the way to an hour? Like, what happens if we end? It's never bad because T-Shum and I can just keep going on and on and on about whatever we want to talk about. And the truth is, what we can do is now we have about 8 minutes before to close out. We can go back into details on some other things. If you guys were just joining us here in the second half hour earlier, make sure you go back and watch. We did some technical analysis on Bitcoin and a prediction of 10 to 12K. Love to know what you guys think about that one. That is not going anywhere. We'll probably discuss that throughout the next couple of weeks. We'll probably discuss it all the way up into either it happens or it's very clear it's not going to happen. Yeah. To be fair, I don't think that we should rule out low Bitcoin prices like 10 to 12K until Bitcoin is probably sitting back up over like 25,000. Yeah. If we get back to 25,000 with Bitcoin, I think at that point it's decently safe to say the bottom for sure is in. Even if we're back up around 21, 22, I would imagine a good headline could get us back over 21, 22, and then something else could come in and wipe out that liquidity. That's pretty easy. It's when you start getting back over and setting higher highs that it's like, all right, that's an interesting zone. Maybe we don't have to go even any lower. We talk about that. We talk about Ethereum hitting a really crucial support level, and Cardano. And I think again, this has been, at least as far as concurrent. We will see what happens with the rest of it. This has been one of the highest concurrent streams we've had since day one. That's crazy. Our highest viewed video for live streams was our day one video.
I think potentially the reason for that was probably the J.K. Rowling quote that I was able to find this morning.
Probably. Jake, she has a lot of fans.
Yeah, definitely.
People love Harry Potter.
People love Harry Potter, and people love crypto. Well, one thing I think we could talk about is the Patreon and the Discord that's going to be launching very soon.
Yeah.
We're still waiting on a couple of administrative, logistical things to kind of clear through with this good old state of Florida here. Got my necklace. But after that, we will be announcing the different membership tiers for Patreon. What you're gonna be able to get with those tiers, and then also we're gonna be launching that Discord, and we're just gonna, man, I'm so excited for that, Tim. Did you have any thoughts?
I mean, I want to kind of tease like some of the things we're thinking of, because it's not gonna be like you're just everyday like Patreon, like it's gonna be really intensive. First of all, that it'll get you into a Discord, so we're gonna have a paid Discord set up. We're working with Jeffrey Fritz, which is CryptoSec guy, and CryptX. They have done a phenomenal job helping us set up that Discord. So again, we're waiting on some logistics from the old state of Florida before we can launch that. But I'm excited about that. There'll be levels to get in and see a lot of cool things going on in the Discord. There'll also be levels to see a lot of things behind the scenes, like some things that Tisha and I are talking about that I'm pretty certain we're going to be doing. I think from time to time, maybe even once a week, what we're going to allow for a certain level of people in that Patreon to do is to get in and do the planning meeting with us. You guys get to watch the behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's going to be cool.
When we're planning the show out. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
There's going to be a certain level, I think, that what we're going to have, like we have monthly, Tishum and I, like we will talk through, where do we see this business going? What do we want to build? What's the next step that we want to grow in? And what we might even do is allow a certain level where people get to be a part of that meeting, like once a month, and you guys get to see the complete transparency of what we're trying to accomplish, what we want to see. Because we've said this several times. Yes, T-Shroom and I are the face. We're the ones that everyone will see every single day. But guess what? Just as important as what's happening on the camera is what's happening in that chat. What's going to be happening in this Discord. What's going to be happening with you guys. Because this is not the Tim and T-Shroom show. This is the Investing Bros show, and whether you are male or female or anything else, you are a bro. On this channel, you're a bro, you're an investing bro, and we're going to learn this together. And the reason we're going to be successful is because of how strong and amazing our community is. Another thing that T-Shroom and I have been talking about that we do want to announce, we want to be known as being generous. We've said this several times in the past, that crypto is amazing and being able to become financially free is amazing, but it's amazing up until the point that you utilize that freedom correctly. I've seen people who are millionaires who are still slaves to their money and are not free. In reality, the purpose of investing, the purpose of making money, in my eyes, should be to do the things that you were made to do the things that fulfill your purpose. I think there is an element of like, hey, let me create some financial wealth for my family to protect them and care for them in the long run. Let me be able to go on a nice vacation and spend some things on my kids. That's great. I think that's awesome. But I think people who just store up wealth and don't do anything with it, I think you're making a mistake. And T-Shum and I are both very strong Christians. And whether you're a Christian or not, there's wisdom that the Bible talks about. So, for example, there's a verse in Matthew where Jesus talks about, do not store up your wealth on earth where moth can come in and eat it, where rust can destroy it. Store up your wealth in heaven where nothing can destroy it, right? He's not saying don't make money. What he's saying is, when you're looking at what is important to you, when you're investing in things, make sure you're investing something that will outlive you and outlive your children. And so what he's talking about is purpose. He's not saying don't make money, but what is your reason for making money? Your reason to make money is to, A, provide for you and your family, which is a biblical thing to do. But the Bible says it is a terrible thing to be someone who does not provide for your family. But the next is to fulfill the purpose and to help those around you. So Tishum and I, we really want to be very focused on raising funds for those who are less fortunate. We want to be very ministry and charity focused, and we haven't decided an exact number, but we're going to go ahead and stick to it. We're going to choose a number, and even in the beginning when we're making $2 a month, and then in the future when maybe this company grows and maybe there's thousands of dollars coming in, no matter whether we make a little or whether we make a lot, this business and every single dollar that we raise in this business, there will be a certain number, a percentage that goes to ministry and charity. And it's not going to be 2%. It's not going to be 5%. We're talking about significant levels.
Yeah.
And we want to be able to use this community to not only educate people watching and educate the community, but also to make a difference in this world, because that is our purpose. That is our plan. That is our passion, is to help those around us. T-Shroom, do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I do. I have a lot of thoughts about that. I mean, I'm extremely excited about that. Tim and I were talking about that this morning. I mean, you can see how passionate we are about this.
Yeah.
On the Daily Show, guys, probably we're only going to talk about the tip of the iceberg about this kind of stuff, but we're very passionate. I'd say I'm more passionate about giving and helping, needs like widows, orphans, things that the Bible talks about.
Yes.
But there's a lot of other needs in our modern society that also need to be addressed. And so we want to partner with rock solid, ironclad, proven, transparent charities out there. And by the way, if you know of any, go ahead and start shooting them our way on Twitter. Charities are going to be a big part of our brand and our channel and our community going forward. So definitely be strapped in for that. But the reason why I say we're probably only going to touch the tip of the iceberg here on the channel with that, we're going to be drawing people into those charities here. Yeah. But in the Patreon is where we're going to be doing a lot more deep, and in the Discord, a lot more deep analysis, a lot more deep commentary, and just investigation of charities. And there's a lot to go into. There's some really good ones out there, and there's some very nefarious ones. But it all comes back to giving. And so that's really the focus of that whole movement.
Some other things that I was going to tease in this, moving into more fun, some things I really, really want to do.
Yeah.
Very passionate about. I love sports. I would love, even in that Discord, to stream, like maybe watch some sporting events together and build a community. Other ones, there's been some phenomenal movies I've been watching recently that I think would be awesome. And I'm talking about finance movies. We could do like some fun movies as well. But there are some really cool movies that talk about historically, go through, the stock market crash of 2008, things going. I think it'd be really cool from time to time in that Discord, T-Shroom, to stream and watch some of these financial movies together. It's entertaining, yes, but even just to grow his community and watch this, and it's really interesting the things you'll learn from those things that you like until you've gotten into investing and you're learning the language of it. You're like, those movies wouldn't have made any sense to you whatsoever.
Yeah.
But now that I'm literally trading and doing things every day, I'm watching these movies. I was like, holy cow!
Yeah.
Like this makes so much more sense now than it did before.
Definitely.
So let me know in chat if you guys are excited about that. Go ahead and smash that like button. Let us know in chat. That is all we have for you guys today. It is 10 o'clock, so we're going to wrap it out. This was our last show for this week, but I do think, T-Shroom, we're putting out a video this afternoon. Do we have anything planned?
Yes.
We're going to try. We're going to see what happens.
Oh, yeah.
More than likely, there'll be a video coming out today.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, I have no idea what it's about, so I'm going to be surprised. I'm going to find out after the stream is over what we're making an afternoon video about. But
let
guys,
us know in the chat right now. What do you want a TA video? What do you want to talk about? Well, I mean, we're going to pick something regardless, but definitely steer us in one way or another.
Let's do it. Well, guys, that's all we have for you. We love all of you. We look forward to, as this channel keeps on growing with you guys. We will see you on Monday next week. Have a great day.